Today I'll be making a dish from a Michelin star restaurant, widely regarded as one of the best restaurants in the world, in my very own humble apartment kitchen. I recently had the opportunity to dine at Esme, a restaurant the Michelin Guide describes as blurring the boundaries between art and dining. As a connoisseur and patron of the arts, and work of art myself, I knew there would be no better individual to attempt this culinary feat. Today I'll be recreating Esme's Dover sole dish that came with a sauce, I don't know how to say that,
Vin jaune,
lobster, persimmon, and pine nuts, and some other things as well, but had to do my own individual research on that. I of course would have cordially asked our waiter for the recipe, but I am certain they would have instructed the guards to seize me and throw me in the dungeon or some other horrible hellscape. Through a combination of detailed notes, internet research, and of course my elite taste buds, I will be making a Dover sole dish so good that the Michelin man will surely appear at my door to try it for himself. He may also kill and eat me.
China is going to eat our lunch? Come on, man.
Now, I've had a lot of food in my time, but I have to admit that walking into one of these fine dining restaurants can be a little intimidating for me, even as an internationally recognized and acclaimed food critic. You read the menu and half the words on there don't sound real, or they were computer generated via advanced simulation the second you decided to make a reservation. Like, you can't honestly tell me this isn't a prank. It sounds like one of those secret recipes from Webkins back in the day, like Forsty Benumblex or Mataruk Lux. All this to say, I didn't know what a persimmon was before trying them in the Dover sole dish at Esme, and when looking to gather the ingredients for this video. While out perusing my local bougie and overpriced city grocery stores, I could not seem to find said persimmons to save my life, as I was told they were a seasonal autumnal fruit, not normally in stock this time of year. This does mean that, yes, the dish I am recreating is not exactly the same one at Esme. I know. Please leave your hate comments and boo me now.
Young man, kill yourself!
Fortunately, I spoke with ChatGPT in the grocery store, and it informed me that fresh apricots were actually similar enough to the flavor of the persimmon, so I could use those to appropriately substitute. Nobody had fresh apricots anywhere either. What I was able to locate, though, were some delectable dried apricots in an aesthetic mason-like jar, so I purchased those to implement in my dish. To round out the ingredients list outside of what I mentioned previously, I gathered parsley, an ample amount of butter, 2 shallots, heavy cream, salt, and pepper. The protein powder you see in the back was not included in this recipe to the disappointment of myself, and I'm sure Rich Biana from heaven above.
we're gonna eat 8,000 calories a day.
I specifically remember the dish having a more delicate and creamy flavor, so I chose not to explore adding exotic spices or other alchemical ingredients for the sake of accuracy. This is obviously a very serious cooking operation. Alright, so it's time we actually got to cooking this shit up. I first started with cutting up my shallots, apricot gummies, and parsley in advance. Please take careful consideration of my Masterchef level cutting techniques and how effectively I butcher this parsley.
For me, impossible.
One thing I would change for next time would be stabilizing the parsley with my hand as a cutting service, so I could flavor the greens effectively with my palm meat. Preparation also included disemboweling Larry over here, but even when dead, he put up quite the fight and nearly pierced my skin. It was only a matter of time before I shattered his weak armor with my blades and tore his torso muscles out for my consumption. I did make sure to also cut him into further pieces as a show of disrespect and total dominance to any future crustaceous opposition. The real reason we are doing this is to cook the lobster more evenly later when we poach it in the cream and infuse Larry's flavor as much as possible into our sauce. Like anything worth eating for a red-blooded American patriot like myself, we begin our cooking process by melting butter on medium heat in our saucepan. This is a seed oil-free recipe, so it is perfectly suitable for sharing with your Facebook radicalized uncle or iFunny user cousin, although you could spike the dish with microplastics or bugs if you don't like them so much. After melting our butter, we'll add our copious amounts of shallots and apricots to the pan, seasoning with salt and pepper. You might have thought this level of shallot consumption would spell instant death for everybody in my home. Unfortunately, everybody living in my home is either already dead or an inanimate object incapable of judging me for my foul odor. You'll want to saute the shallots and apricots for around 2 minutes, but make sure not to brown the shallots as your dish will be ruined and your family will indeed hate you.
Zeus, your son has returned!
Now that our shallots and apricots are cooked up a little, we will add the VJ potion to the pan, ensuring we reach a quick simmer before turning down too low. Cooking with the wine was starting to make me feel a little too sophisticated, so I tried guzzling the rest I wasn't cooking with, but it was unfortunately too small of an amount to make a dent on me. Good thing for me though, I had an advanced botanical and lighter fluid mixture on standby just in case a situation like this would arise. Few people actually know it's very renowned for its unique health benefits. Turning back to our dish, we want to simmer our witch's cauldron for around 15 minutes, or reduce it by 3/4. At this point, the jus should be fully reduced and it is time for straining. You'll transfer using a strainer into another large pan or pot, but make sure to squeeze those shallots and apricots to get all the liquid. I tried to do this with just a spoon, but found it to be extremely difficult, so my advice to you would be milking them dry with your bare hands. After they've been depleted of their lifeblood, you can discard the shallot and apricot solids like garbage, or blend them with another bottle of wine into food for your infant child. We will return our jus to the heat and get it back boiling, which should take around only 2 minutes. At this point, we will have been edging this mixture a lot with the heat, so it's time to reward it with a fat cup of thick, heavy cream. Give this a mix for the two liquids to get to know each other before boiling them together again. We'll reduce the heat again to low, simmering for at least 15 minutes, and reducing significantly. This is the point we will add Larry's remains to the simmering cream and poach him for 6 to 8 minutes, removing him into a separate bowl once done. Be mindful to check the texture of Larry as he firms up in the cream, as overcooking him will cause permanent rigor mortis, and he'll be less pleasant of a texture to gnash between your teeth. While the cream and lobster are working, we will want to make sure we pat our Dover sole dry and adequately seasoned with salt and pepper. We'll once again add at least a tablespoon of heart-healthy butter to our cooking surface, melting on medium-high heat. The fish will cook very quickly at around 2 to 3 minutes aside, so do be careful not to overcook it. I'm mentioning it now, but we also need to properly toast our pine nuts in preparation of adding them in at the end. These nuts are known to burn notoriously quickly, so continuously shake and rattle them about unless you want to hotbox the crib with some OG pine nut pack. It seems the fumes may have some interesting benefits, but at least take time to load them into your Rick and Morty water pipe before partaking. If your cream mixture has thickened up enough, take off the heat and pour a 1/4 cup of raw wine into the mixture. Is what I would have told you if that wasn't the dumbest fucking idea I've ever heard. I would definitely suggest just using an 1/8 cup or just a splash of the raw wine, as the larger amount was way too overpowering to the delicate apricot and shallot jus we spent all that time making earlier. Add the parsley and pine nuts to the sauce, mix thoroughly, and we're ready to assemble our Michelin star dish. Because we're not some dainty fine dining art museum and it is indeed bulking season, I started with a generous portion of our cooked Dover sole. Followed this with some pieces of our poached Larry, then pour your sauce over the top. With that, we have completed our homemade version of Esme's Dover sole dish. The big question is, was all that effort worth the taste? The answer, in my opinion, definitely yes. It's pretty clear through photo comparison that I obviously made way more sauce and a way larger portion compared to Esme. Despite needing to reduce the cream a little more, add some more apricots at the beginning and less raw wine at the end, I was very pleased with this dish and resulting leftover sauce. I actually ended up consuming it the next day with some French bread, which was like having a delicious cheese fondue for lunch, even though there's no cheese in this thing. The fish and lobster were tender and flavor-packed, despite their simple preparation, so overall I felt very accomplished losing my fine dining virginity. I'd rate Esme's a 9.6 out of 10, and mine a humble 7.8 out of 10. If you've gotten to this point, I sincerely wanted to thank you for watching. I had a lot of fun making this video and hope you amusedly exhaled through your nose a little at least some point. I would tell you to watch another video on the channel, but this is kind of the first one, so definitely subscribe to catch whatever masterpiece I decide to cook up next.